The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus summoned the crowd again and said to them, "Hear me, all of you, and understand that nothing enters from outside the body can defile the person, but things that come out from within are what defile." When he got home, away from the crowd, his disciples questioned him about this parable, and he said to them, "Are you even likewise without understanding? Do you not realize that everything that goes into a person from the outside cannot defile, since it enters not the heart, but the stomach, and passes into the latrine? Thus he can be cleared of all foods. But what comes out from a person is what defiles him. From within a person, from his heart, come evil thoughts, unchastity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, licentiousness, envy, blasphemy, arrogance, folly. All these evils come from within, and they defile." The Gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, it has nothing to do with the thrust of my homily, but if you doubt what a sin is, there it is. You got the who's who of all the sins. Jesus just listed all of them. I mean, everything is there. So if you want to learn about sin, knock your socks off. You can go here and absorb all those, and of course you can go to hell with all those things, but that's not what we're here for. Okay, the scriptures are very fascinating today, to me personally, and also as the message for all of us. Today is the anniversary, this week is the anniversary of my brother's passing. My brother's favorite number was 13. With Italians and Sicilians hold number 13 very important. We're not superstitious, but we like 13. Usually with the 13, and as we carry it around our necks, we have a crucifix next, so it shows, that we're together. Okay, so today's the 13th. Now, we've been praying as a family for my nephew to get into a certain Catholic school in New Jersey, Seton Hall Prep. And today, I'm sure the answer is coming. And I'm sure because Michael, my brother, is watching over his grandson. And I'm sure his grandson is going to hear good news today. I'll let you know if that doesn't happen, but guaranteed it happens. It will happen. Okay. The scriptures. Interesting twist that Jesus gives us on the scriptures today. The first reading you heard from Genesis is about creation, and it's a great story, and all creation. Eventually God creates man, breathing in his nostrils, and he's formed out of the dust of the earth. That's what you just heard read. But then he goes on to talk about the beauty of creation, the author, the trees and the fruit, and this Adam, this man, is going to have the task of naming these things. And he names all the animals and the fruit. This is our biblical mythology. It didn't happen. It's the tradition that's been passed on through the book of Genesis, because, nobody was there when it happened. So nobody could have given us those notes except God, and he doesn't write letters. Okay. So the scriptures there are very interesting, and basically it gave rise to one of the tenets of Judaism, and that is to be very conscious of things you eat. And there's certain foods that they don't eat. Things that crawl on the ground, they don't eat. The Jews don't eat. Okay, but we're not here for that. However, in the time of Jesus, those rules became like absolute. And it was more important to not eat a shellfish than to give to the poor. That's how bad it got with the scriptures and the covenant. And it's the prophets that tell us about this. I didn't make that up. The prophets are, you give more attention to the laws than you do to the brothers and sisters who need you. So Jesus takes that today in the Gospel of Mark, and he goes one step further. And he makes it very clear, don't be upset with if you don't eat the right food, or you ate the wrong food, or you drank the wrong thing, or you picked up the cup at the wrong time, because these were the laws. There were 563 laws of the Jews that they kept besides the Ten Commandments. So Jesus says, don't get caught up with all that stuff about what goes into you that will defile you. That's what they believe. It'll make me a sinner if I eat the wrong thing at the wrong day. Jesus turns that around and says, it's not what goes in you that defiles you, it's what comes out. Because what goes in goes to your stomach and gets digested. What comes out comes from your heart. And notice, Jesus does things very interestingly. He turns things topsy-turvy. These are people really serious about the food they're going to eat. Not because they're on a diet, because it's restriction food, it's law. He gets that and goes, forget that. Think about what comes out of your body. And then he gives that list of sins, licentiousness and greed and malice and all those bad things. That's what defiles a person. What comes out, because what comes out comes from your heart. Now we're that close from Valentine's Day, so you know I got to bring that into it. What's the symbol of Valentine's Day? Anybody? What's the symbol? Heart, exactly. So let's stay with the heart for a second, only because it was your idea. Let's stay with the heart for a second. How significant it is for us as human beings. We appreciate the fact that the other symbols associated with Valentine's Day are the Greek, Greco-Roman Cupids and all that good stuff. But we also know that Valentine's was named after Saint Valentine's, and he was a martyr in the early church. That's why we read on his feast day, if you're saying the Mass on St. Valentine's Day. And he was someone who's associated with love letters. Now, I don't know the exact same old story, because we're talking 4th century. There were love letters either sent or received, and when he signed, he often signed, because that was his name, your Valentine. So he signed these love letters to whoever he was writing them to, your Valentine, and of course, Valentine became our love day. Okay, let's go back to love. Let's go back to the heart. Let's go back to what comes out of our hearts. If we have one person, that we really love, not for what we can get out of him or her, but because he or she is so important and we're so attracted to him, whether he's our parent or child, doesn't matter. If we have one, we are so blessed. And it's authentic love from our hearts. And what's authentic love? All the opposite of the sins that Jesus listed in Mark. If we love someone for who they are, we love someone for their benefit, we love someone because we love doing things for him or her, and the list goes on. And I love to, when I'm dealing with clients, I always say the test is, how do I feel when I'm with that person? And if I should have the blessedness to experience that love, and it doesn't have to be eros, it doesn't be romantic love, it could be friendship love, it could be family love, brotherly love, but if I have that experience, I feel secure and loved when I'm with that person, I know what love is. That's what Jesus is talking about. Jesus is telling us, tune up your hearts. Don't worry about what you're eating, not eating, this and that. Tune up your hearts. Let your heart be ready to give out. Because what comes from your heart usually comes from our mouths, the words, actions, our hands, feet, by going to the loved object, loved person. So Jesus is telling us, tomorrow you're going to wake up, it's going to be Valentine's Day. Think of who you love. Now, if your spouse, your best friend, whoever it is, has died, you can still think of him or her. Because if that person was so loved by you when he walked this earth or she walked this earth, she's still experiencing your love. Because love never dies. God is love, remember that? Love never dies. So tomorrow morning, as we wake up and we thank God for Valentine's Day, even if it means nothing, even if it means, hearts and cards and junk and, the billion-dollar industry, it's not our concern. What comes from our heart is our concern. So think of the loved person in your life who touched you in the past, who is with you now. Think of the greatest love of your life, God, who's always there for us, who's constantly grabbing onto us and getting inside of us and giving us a way to think. Conscience. Think of love and enjoy it. because God is love.